Okay, so the other night I tested these two drills like this and the Ridgid smashed it. But tonight we're gonna do something like that. The tides may just really change this time. Okay, so the other night I tested the Ridgid R861152 with an 8 amp EXP battery, 21,700 cells, against the Milwaukee 2904 with the 5 amp XC battery. Those are 18,650 cells. Well, tonight I'm gonna retest them, but I'm gonna make it a little more fair. First, before I even start, I have different wood, so I'm gonna have to set a baseline and retest them real quick. One hole with each bit, just to get a baseline so we can figure out what the difference is gonna be between this wood and what I had the other night. I am gonna start with the 8 amp EXP battery in the Ridgid Speed 2. I wanna remind you, 2,000 RPMs. Only thing I don't like about the Ridgid, super sensitive anti-kickback, and you cannot disable it. But I am gonna go ahead, first hole, 1/2 inch Diablo self-feeding spade bit.
All right, ready?
Yes, sir.
Go.
What was the time?
4.46.
4.46. And now I'm gonna do one hole with the 1/2 inch Diablo self-feeding auger bit.
Ready? Go. 3.25.
Okay, so 3.25. Can you write those two down? Because now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the Milwaukee, still with the 5 amp XC battery.
Okay, ready? Go. 3.52.
So 3.52. Was the Milwaukee just a little bit faster on that one?
Yes. Well, for
the spade. I thought the Ridgid was like 4.
Yeah, the Ridgid was 4.
Okay. Anyway. Okay, second hole with the Milwaukee with the Diablo auger.
Okay, ready? Go. 3.78.
3.78. So right now, seems like both drills are pretty close in time. Now we're going to kick it up a notch. Okay, so now I'm going to test the Milwaukee fully charged 8 amp high output battery, 21,700 cells. In Speed 2, I'm going to do 2 holes with each bit so we can get an average. First up is the Diablo self-feeding spade bit.
Go. 3.24.
3.24. Okay, I'm ready to do the second hole whenever you're ready.
Go. 3.51.
3.51. Now, first hole, Milwaukee with the Diablo auger.
Go. You're gonna have to redo that one. I'm sorry. I pressed it a little too early.
Okay.
That's all
I
right.
noticed there's a little bit of a lag where the gap in the wood,
Yeah,
where the
that's
two
what
pieces meet.
I seen just the tip stick out, and I pressed it a little too early.
All right.
Ready? Go. 2.45.
Wow. Now I'm ready for the second hole that counts as soon as you write that down.
Yep. Go. 2.39.
Woohoo! The one nice thing about the Ridgid is the chuck has a very distinctive sound when it's ratcheting. The Milwaukee, not quite so much. And I will tell you, this 8-amp battery does add a little bit of beef to it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. No bog down that time, though. Last time there was a little bog down, but that could have been the difference in the wood. One thing I will tell you, though, with the Milwaukee, the anti-kickback is there, but it's not nearly as sensitive as the Ridgid. And put that selector in the center position, squeeze this trigger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see that light blink. No more anti-kickback. So if you really need to turn that kickback off, you can do it with the Milwaukee. Now it's back on. Still in speed 2. Okay, now I'm gonna do 2 holes with each bit with the Ridgid, still with the 8-amp EXP battery, and it is 1 bar down. Okay, first with the self-feeding spade bit. It's speed 2, drill mode.
Go.
$4.44.
Yep.
I don't know if y'all notice, there is a trigger lag sometimes in the Ridgid also. Okay, next one.
Go. $4.17.
Okay, 4.17. I will note too, the Ridgid has 22 clutch positions plus drill and hammer. The Milwaukee has 16 clutch positions plus drill and hammer. So there's something to keep in mind depending on how you're going to use your drill. For driving purposes, this one might be better because you can control your clutch better with more settings depending on the size of the fastener. Okay, let's take this out. We'll put the auger back in. Okay, first hole. Whenever you're ready.
Go. That was 6.29.
6.29. It seemed like it hit something and stopped for a second, and I had to push a little bit. So we'll do the second hole with that.
Go. 3.91.
3.91. Now, still in speed 2, still in drill mode. This time, I'm using the 6-amp max output battery, 18650 cells. Let's see how much this affects the time. First hole with the spade bit.
Go. 4.39.
4.39. So not a huge effect. Ready for the second hole?
Go. 3.83.
3.83. First hole with the 6-amp max output battery with the Diablo auger.
Nope. 5.38.
Again, I had to push in that auger just a little bit. Let's try it right over here, because these screws might be holding it tighter together in that spot.
All right.
So we'll do the second hole right here.
Go. 3.26.
So the battery did not affect this drill quite as much as I thought it might. Okay, just for fun, I grabbed a different piece of wood. I'm gonna try to drive this 16-inch auger bit all the way in and get a time on that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the Milwaukee. I've still got the 6 amp max output battery on the Ridgid, still in speed 2, still in drill mode. Okay, ready when you are.
Go. That one took 15 seconds.
15 seconds. It hit a couple spots. It did not cut out drawing it back. The other night it did, but that might have been more dense wood too. I think this is a little bit different. I'm gonna try that same thing with the Milwaukee with an 8 amp high output battery. I'm gonna go right here.
Go. $10.20.
Look at that smoke. I don't know. Some people might say the drill bit's dull. I'm not positive. Could just be the wood because it's going so dang fast. But it doesn't hear the Milwaukee bogged down at all tonight so far. So I'm going to do one more test here as soon as I flip this wood around. Okay, just for fun, I decided to flip this wood sideways and I put in the 5/8 Irwin speed bore, Ridgid, still in speed 2, 6 amp max output battery. I'm gonna drill a couple holes, get a time on that. Okay, I'm ready for the first one.
All right, ready? Go. 2.32.
2.32. Notice that slight trigger lag again. Another thing I want to point out, with the Ridgid, the trigger grabs like almost immediately. It's got good trigger control, but what I do notice is like there isn't a whole lot of feathering. It seems like it's low, medium, and high. Remember, it's only got 2,000 RPM, so that might have something to do with it too. So I'm gonna go for the second hole.
Go. 2.45.
2.45, and that's probably because it bound up just a little bit. One thing I want to point out, and I know another channel mentioned it with the 800 inch-pound Ridgid model, all those clutch settings. A minute ago, I reached down like this to loosen a drill bit. I don't know if you can see this. That clutch slipped right out of drill. They're so close together, and it's not a super strong click. Now, I'm gonna put this bit in the Milwaukee. Okay, ratchet it down tight. Now I'm gonna loosen. I'm gonna reach right onto this clutch ring. No movement at all. Stronger clicks, and you got a lot of space between drill and that 16. but these just seem to lock in place a little better. Look at that. The hammer, I mean, maybe if you're playing around, you might slip out a hammer in the drill, but I don't really see you slipping out a drill too easily. I mean, I'm putting a lot of pressure. It's moving a little bit, but not much. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 holes, 8 amp, high output, 21,700 cell batteries. Let's see. Still showing a full charge. Speed 2. Are we ready?
Go ahead. 1.79.
1.79. Immediate trigger response with the Milwaukee. Are you stopping? Okay. Because I want to show this real quick. The Milwaukee has a little more play. Kind of similar to the Flex. But when it does start, okay, you got low. Depending on how good your trigger is, there's a lot of different feathering precision with the Milwaukee. Second hole. Whenever you're ready.
Go. We're gonna have to redo it. I tapped it.
All right, we'll do that.
My bad,
again.
I tapped it. I seen the tip stick out again. I clicked it too early.
Whenever you're ready.
Go. 1.86.
1.86. I wonder if the 5 amp battery makes any difference. Let's try one with the 5 just to see. Ready? Whenever you are.
Go. 1.79. Just the same as the first.
It's about the same. I think really where that battery's going to make such a big difference would be like more of a high torque application, like trying to drive lags or something like that. It hasn't really affected this test at all. Maybe if the bits had bound up a little more. I can tell you both the drills are good. I just kind of think the Milwaukee's better. Stop this. Okay, I'm just going to wrap it up on the 2 drills. The way these come kitted, the Milwaukee 2904 comes with an XC 5.0 battery, 18,650 cells, rated 1,400 inch-pounds of torque, 2,100 RPM, 2 speeds. You got 16 clutch settings plus drill and hammer. But it also comes with the impact driver and another 5.0 battery and the charger. That kit is $399, but it still qualifies for a free tool. Choose the angle grinder because that's going to bring the kit down to the lowest cost. Very well performing drill. Auxiliary handle's a little crazy, but I do like the fact you can disable the anti-kickback. The Ridgid R861152, as kitted, comes with the 4-mode impact driver, a 6 amp max output battery, and a 4 amp max output battery. Both kits, you're getting a total of 10 amps. With the Milwaukee, you're getting equal amps in both batteries. I want to say the nice thing about the Milwaukee too, the charger is better. Sometimes it's a little bit crazy when you first put the battery on. It wants to flash red and green like it's a defective battery. Don't be scared. Take the battery off a few times until it starts charging. I've had that issue with multiple batteries and none of them are bad. I'm also going to say the nice thing about that Milwaukee charger, the base is more stable. And since Milwaukee also has a 12-volt line, that M18 charger has an M12 charging slot. So you don't need to buy a separate charger if you want to buy the M12 fuel. Bad thing about the Ridgid. Okay, not a lot. Anti-kickback, trigger control isn't as good. The clutch kind of slipped at one time, but that was kind of my mistake. I reached across here, but I want to show you that again. Overall, I just think the fit and finish of the Milwaukee's better. This little groove right there does bother my finger a little bit, but not if I have my glove on, and it was mostly with the 8 amp high output battery, because that does add a bit of weight and it does bring it forward quite a bit here too. I usually wear gloves though when I'm using the drill, just my personal preference, so it doesn't really bother me. The Ridgid doesn't have a groove right there, but I don't know, I don't think it's as refined of a grip. You also see little things that tell you it's not quite on the level of fit and finish as Milwaukee, and I'm sure TTI makes it that way for a reason. I don't know. I don't think you can go wrong with either drill. This one qualifies for a lifetime service agreement if you register within 90 days. This one has a 5-year, and I think it's 3 years on the battery. The lifetime service agreement covers everything. I'm going to be doing the head-to-head impact driver test before I rule either one of these out. But first I want to go over the times from tonight, because they are quite a bit different than the other night. The Ridgid, we didn't do the averages this time. Tell me if I'm focused there.
I can zoom in. There you go. It's probably pretty good.
Okay, so the Ridgid on the first spade bit got 4.44, Milwaukee 3.24. Second spade hole, Ridgid 4.17, Milwaukee 3.51. Now keep in mind, that's the 6 amp battery in the Ridgid. 18,650 cells versus 21,700. But these numbers are a lot closer to what the Ridgid had with the 21,700 cell battery. Now, when you got into auger, I think that first one was a little bit of a fluke with the Ridgid. It was 6.29 seconds. Milwaukee 2.45. But if you look, the second one, 3.91 versus 2.39. Milwaukee is just super consistent and faster. Now, we got the auger going in the end grain, 15.46 with the Ridgid, 10.2 with the Milwaukee. That could have also been a fluke. I think the Ridgid had a couple more stops. Now we go into speed bore, 2.32 and 2.45 versus 1.79 and 1.86. So the Milwaukee outperformed it. I think I could also run another test. Both drills with 18,650 cell batteries, 6 amp versus 5 amp. I think we're going to end up with about the same results. They'll probably be darn near neck and neck. And I still just think the Milwaukee is a little bit better. I think the Ridgid impact driver is going to really impress us on the power, because it's, I believe, 2,400 inch-pounds, whereas the Milwaukee's only 2,000. Me personally, I found the Flex too powerful at 2,500 inch-pounds, and I've already tested at Milwaukee, and it felt great. I've also tested the Metabo HPT, which is 1,859 inch-pounds. Phenomenal impact driver. So I just want you to leave comments below, and that would be my last suggestion. Thanks, and have a great day.